What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode here on our MiG-23. Today we are jumping back into the kit and I'm hoping to go ahead and get this wheel bay all set up, which means I want to go ahead and string in some wires using some solder, different sizes. I know .03 is usually one of my favorites, but I have a couple of other sizes I can use because my references show different sized pipes and wires kind of going through the area. So I'm going to go ahead and try my best to add in as much as I can and get this thing looking a little bit better. Now I mentioned last episode when we go ahead and put on those wings, it does impact the top of the wheel bay. So that's going to have to be sanded down. That's something we're going to do today as well. I'm not going to install the wings just yet, but I do want to go ahead and just get that all nicely squared away so it fits. But let's jump in there, guys. We got a lot of work to do. Let's go ahead and start stringing in some solder for those wheel bays. Let's add in some of the details, or at least let's start the process. Alright guys, so I went ahead and I came through the wheel bays and I drilled out different holes and openings and I went ahead and strung through some solder wire. I used a variety of sizes and yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I want to do a little bit more though, but I think we're on a good track. But now we're going to go ahead and jump over real quick here and I want to go ahead and start working on the landing gears. I hear that these are the weakest portions of this kit, so I'm going to go ahead and clean them up. I want to go ahead and drill out one of the pegs and install my brass tubing just to have a little bit more support for the landing gears. I also want to go ahead and build up the wheels, get those set up, just see what we can do. Still lots of bits and pieces and different sub-assemblies to work on, but we're getting there. So let's jump back into that time lapse. Let's push on. right, everybody. So we are back, and so far so good. I really like how the wheel bays have turned out. I went ahead and just worked on the main landing gear bays, adding in wires, finishing off all that area, cleaned up and put together the tires. So those are ready to go. And I drilled out the landing gears and inserted a brass rod in there for extra support. So all of that, I think we're on the right track. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the nose. And this is going to require some nose weight. And this is kind of an odd setup for landing gears, and I'm not sure the weight distribution. So I'm thinking let's just put a ton of weight up here in the front. That way we are ensured we have a nice aircraft sitting on all of its landing gears. Now for adding weight, I typically use copper BBs, and in this case, we can go ahead and fill up the nose cone and the area right in front of the cockpit with these copper BBs shouldn't be a problem. However, I do want to go ahead and add a bit of a backstop so that the BBs don't flow through the aircraft. So in this case, we're going to cut out a couple of discs of styrene, we're going to glue them in, and then we'll go ahead and dump in our BBs. Then I'll just go ahead and secure them with some super glue. Again, you got to be real careful not to dump super glue all over the place. And the super glue that I currently use is an extra thin super glue. So a little bit of some accelerator should go ahead and get these all squared away. And then we can go ahead and add the nose cone to the front of the aircraft. And luckily these are keyed, so we know exactly where to put those. Fit is actually decent. I like the fact that there's not a giant gap in there. I was worried about that. I will say this though, there is a bit of a shape problem with that nose. It doesn't look right to me. I think a resin replacement nose would have been a better choice here, but I don't want to spend a ton of money, so we're going to go with it. So let's jump into our next time lapse here. Real quick, we're going to install the intakes, the splitter plates, sand up the wheels, clean up the joint around the nose, and then we'll be back, and I think we'll be able to call it quits for today. Let's go ahead and finish up the episode. All right, everybody. So here we are. Our fuselage is coming together. As you can see, we went ahead and glued in our nose cone, added in some weight. I did go ahead and just kind of test fit this top part for the coping. That's going to need a little bit of extra painting, but that looks okay for now. Then I also went ahead and installed these splitter plates for the intakes. Those went in well enough, and I glued in the wheel bays. And the wheel bays, I do like how they turned out. Zooming in here, you can see the wheel bay is filled with wires. I could have gone even more so, but I like this. This is just enough to give you some interest, and when I get the landing gear actually installed, this should add a little bit of extra life to an otherwise fairly empty area. We've got some larger, some smaller. Went ahead and copied what I saw in my references and tried to add those into the wheelbase as best as I could, and I think they're not too bad. And for the landing gears, we did drill out the front portion and we installed a brass tubing just to go ahead and give it a little bit more meat to go ahead and make sure that this is not going to have weak landing gears. So you can see we can go ahead and push it right on through. There is a coupling that fits under the back of this, which pinches it to the sidewall of the landing gear bay. But you can see on the inside, we can add in a ton of extra support, and we can really make sure this landing gear isn't going to go anywhere. Honestly, it's a very strange design. So hopefully with this brass tubing, we can get these landing gears to hold the extra weight. Now, I did mention last episode that the top portion of the fuselage and swing wing mechanism does impact the top of the wheel bay. I've gone ahead and sanded down the top of the wheel bay enough. I've been able to go ahead and get this to close decently well. It's not perfect, mind you. There's still areas that I need to go ahead and clean up, even a bit more sanding on the top of the wheel bay, but as you can see, it does fit down. The wings do fold outward and inward. We have a little bit of a step here though, so I might want to come back, do some sanding on the inside of this top portion. I already went ahead and sanded down the fuselage. Might need to go a little bit more because I want to make sure that this can fit in there and I can eliminate a little bit of that step. Also, the inner portion where the wings meet the fuselage right in there, that is also a concern because the front section right in here, that actually impacted the fuselage and needed to be trimmed ever so slightly to get this to drop into place. Like I said, right there, I just went ahead and snipped that off with my flush cuts, sanded it down, and also cleaned up the inside area here, and I was able to get this to drop into place. So not too bad. Honestly, it does fit a lot better than it did, but more work is needed. So we'll go ahead and tackle this on the next episode, start getting this thing all glued together. And lastly, the intakes, as you can see, they do slide right into place. They don't look exactly as I've seen in pictures, but they're close enough for what we're doing here. You can see that we might have a little bit of some issue with some seam lines. Basically anything in this area right in here, this is going to be some trouble. So we have to be real careful how this all glues together so we won't have to do too much sanding or filling. So it has a little bit of a cleaner look to it. But it isn't too bad. We do have to line up the bottom portion and the side portions as well as the top portion here to get everything nicely installed, but I think we should be good. It actually is a very cool looking design anyway, so swing wings work and it's looking the part, so I'm happy with it. But that is it, guys. As you can see, we've done quite a bit of work today. A little bit of a shorter episode, but I think we are good to go ahead and call it quits for today. Next episode, we're going to come on back and hopefully go ahead and get the wings installed, get everything nicely buttoned up, and maybe even prime. We'll have to see how it goes. And of course, canopy masking and all that. So until our next episode, guys, you know the drill. Get out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. We'll see you back here on episode number 5 for more of our MiG-23 by Trumpeter. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.